All right, good morning. It is September 11th, 2025 at 9:05 a.m. We are here for PBA openers. My name is Nikki Powell, HR Director.
Chris Moy, Organics, Corrections.
Debbie Bowers, County Admin.
Lincoln McDonald, Human Resources.
Rich Powell, Chief Corrections.
Scott Nash, Scammon County Corrections.
Louis Shows, Scammon County Corrections.
John Sawyer, Scammon County Corrections.
Dustin Perazine, Scammon County Corrections.
Floyd Deppel, Escambia County Corrections.
James Bush, Escambia County Corrections.
Chase Horn, PBA.
Jason Santos, Escambia County Corrections.
Donnie Wilson, Scammon County Corrections.
Ed Allen, Escambia County Corrections.
And Kristen Hill with the County Attorney's Office.
Right?
Yes.
All right. We had discussed Article 13 last time, and I asked clarifying questions, like administratively, how it would be implemented. This was for a clarification to the. You guys have seen that, I think. Clarification to the sick leave transfer. There was that issue with, I think it was just a misunderstanding, but I tweaked the language just so it was clear. It should be on page 2, subsection J, line 12. I think that was meant to be an example, but we'll just eliminate that so it's no longer an issue. And then on page 4, line 13, and that's that 13.06 category. This was the mental health day that we discussed previously. And I think you guys indicated that you were open to the mental health day. We just needed some clarification on administratively how it would be implemented. So I think, if I'm understanding correctly, 24 hours, it'll go in as hours. And then it will go on a fiscal year. So everybody, October 1, so we don't have to worry about administratively missing somebody. You miss somebody's anniversary date on a random week, and it would go to the annual leave bank.
I think administratively that makes it easier. I don't know.
Well, administratively, yes, but realize that that's going to be inconsistently applied from the perspective of if you're an 8-hour employee, it's 3 days.
Yes.
If you're on 10s, it's 2.5, and if you're on shift, it's 2.
Yes.
So I think we need to look at that from a different perspective. I just don't know what that perspective is to keep people.
So we looked at that as far as like days as an example. The problem with that is how do you implement like different hours? And I think administratively it needed to stay hours.
Let me have a conversation with HR because operationally, I just, again, I'm looking out for the operation, not the contractual side of it. To keep all things equal, because right there, a 24-hour statement is not equal. It's just not.
Sure.
And obviously that's the goal, always, to make sure it's fair among everybody. So I have to have a conversation with Nick and see what we can do as far as what that actually works out to be.
I think I guess the conversation of equal is the same hours across the board for everybody. I recognize that it equates to potentially different days depending on your assignment, but if that was the argument, because 24 hours is 2 days on shift, essentially. So I recognize that 24 hours divides differently if you're on like an 8 or a 10 or some kind of other flex shift. I recognize that. But it's still that equal is the same hours across the board, at least from our perspective. So, and I recognize we can, when we take the caucus, we can discuss that further. You guys can discuss it further. Okay. So if we can set this aside, we'll move to Article 21, which was salaries.
Her ears are about that.
I'm sorry?
Her ears are about that.
Sometimes I'm told I'm being too vocal, and just because I'm speaking clearly and loud, sometimes.
No, I'm asking you to speak louder.
Okay. I can fill the room with sound, that's for sure.
All right, before you is Article 21, which is salaries. Page 1 is where all the changes are. On subsection E, line 20, we have for fiscal year 25-26, all bargaining unit members shall receive a 4% across the board increase. Add to their base hourly rate, the parties agreed to discuss addressing wage compression during future negotiations pending fiscal allocations. And obviously, over the years it's happened at the sheriff's office, all agencies. There's a big discussion and argument about different compression issues. That's a multiple faceted, there's several issues with compression, but we just want to be able to address it moving forward and work towards a path that can potentially fix it. I recognize the budget is what it is this year. It's going to take a little bit more than that for compression fixing. But we request 4%. And then on subsection F right below that, starts on line 26, and that adds a clarification to the Me Too clause. This provision is intended to ensure parity with countywide adjustments and shall not be interpreted to limit or restrict the ability of the PBA to negotiate additional wage increase or enhancements specific to this bargaining unit. We wrote an example. The parties negotiate a 4% increase to the pay scale. However, the VCC then provides a 6% increase. Each bargaining unit member shall then be entitled to the additional difference of the 2%. So those are that is our proposal.
So just to clarify, you're asking for 4%,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
not 4% on top of what the board is giving.
I'm asking for 4%. I'm not sure exactly if the board is for sure.
Right now, it's budgeted for 3%?
Yes,
So
we're asking for 4.
You're asking for 4, okay, just for clarity and on the record,
Yes.
so that I know what you're asking for. As far as financially, I can't really speak to it, I'll have to take it to Stefan, our budget director. It's not an unreasonable ask, so I don't, mind taking it up to him and seeing what he has to say. I know, I keep hearing we don't have any money. I don't know if any of you listened to the budget hearing. And the commissioners, I feel like our commissioners did a very good job explaining where the money is going. If you didn't, I suggest you just fast forward through all the speakers and listen to the commissioners at the end.
It's about the 2 hour mark.
I feel like they did a fabulous job explaining some of the different funds that the county has where, we can't use salary dollars from certain funds, and they did address that. I know the DOR has been a problem. I don't know if Chief had anything to add on that.
And it's, I feel for the supervisors of this organization. Prime example the other day. One on vacation, 3 call-outs because of sick, 4 on a DOR. They walked into it 7 bodies down because, and primarily impacted because of that damn DOR. I just wish you guys would just get paid for your hours worked and be done with it and stop hamstringing yourselves every time you come to work. It's of, if you go back to the original aspect from what I've been advised, the DOR was put in place because you weren't getting paid for shift briefing time. You're being paid for shift briefing time now. And now you're asking for mental health days, where you're getting that via your DOR. I see these rosters every day, and you guys are upstream the entire way, and it's a self-inflicted wound. And it's self-inflicted because of this contract. And I'm being candid, guys. I'm being completely candid. I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm trying to pay you for your actual hours worked by the law. But you want a DOR, so you take a day off without pay. Day off without pay. You get the rest that you're asking for, but you're also coming in light every shift. I think 1 or 2 days out of the 14-day cycle that you work on schedule, you might be 1 or 2 down. But on average, it's 3 to 4 per shift, and you're going into that. And you want to talk salaries? We're having to backfill that with overtime, so it can't become part of salaries. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. And I'm not preaching to you, I'm talking with you from a business perspective. There's things in there that if I were on that side of the table, I'd be saying, pay me for my 14 days and I'm not supposed to be at work. That's almost a 7.19% increase. I think many of you have done the math. If you're on shift, put that in your pocket. You're throwing that money away and
You're
costing a
returning it.
financial impact and an operational impact in your work environment. I don't control that. It's a contract thing. Come to work with the people you're supposed to come to work with every day, and it's a whole lot easier job. Stop preaching. But I'm passionate about it because from an operational impact of over 40 years' experience tells me that, and I've said this since the day I got here, it's one of the most asinine things I've ever seen in an operation. Find me one other organization that has it in the 3,000 plus jails across the United States. Find me one. I know of none. And we shoot ourselves in the foot every day when we walk into this organization to run the business because of something that was put in to save money 30 years ago. I'll get off my, and I'm not standing grandstanding, I'm simply saying I'm passionate about you guys coming to work with the right people, not being 3 and 4 down because of something that's in a contract that you're not being paid for anymore. You're getting a day off, but you're only working 14 hours a month anyways, 13. Get paid for it.
We have had extensive conversations on the day of rest, and we just haven't had we haven't come to a consensus. It is something that we can look at revisiting in the future, of course. 6 months from now, whenever it is, when we start negotiations again, we can look at it at that point. So, but yes, we've had discussions. We have not had a consensus yet. So, you have to talk to Stefan. Is it something that we can take a caucus and you can go talk to him?
I can try. I doubt I will get an answer today. We can take a quick caucus and see. I don't know if he's even available, but I'll try.
Sure.
And then we can come back to the table and
Yes.
see what he has to say. And I was going to say something else, but I've lost my train of thought. And I promise I'm not sick.
Sure. Well, if we want to take a caucus, you guys can talk about the Article 13 and the 21 and see if you can get a hold of Stefan, and then we can come back and try to see if we're ready to sign.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I do know. It is time sensitive, meaning if we go to that budget hearing on the 23rd, what is written in is what's already in your contract. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Time sensitive, so.
Yeah, you mean as far as the Me
understand
Too
that.
clause?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I want it to be done today if we can help it.
Yes.
So,
All right. thank
awesome. So we can go off the record.
you.
It is 0918.
All right, we're back from caucus. Yes, real quick on leave. Administratively, we could manage that. My understanding is operationally is with the DOR and already having a day a month that has to be managed, that they're not gonna be able to operationally manage the additional leave. As far as the salaries, I was actually able to get a hold of Stefan. Unfortunately, the budget there is right now a preliminary 3% built in, that was preliminarily approved on the 9th. That is still gonna go before the board on the 23rd, but that is all. I'm not sure if you heard the board meeting and what Stefan is saying about the property taxes. If that referendum goes through, all county government is gonna be trying to figure out what the next steps are. The property tax, I don't know if you listened to our property appraiser on the hearing before that in July, talking about the money's just not coming in. So I was able to get a hold of him, and he did say that we could not do 4%.
Okay.
And I will tell you that in our last directors meeting, which was a week or so ago, we've already been, all the directors have already been asked to cut 10% out of their budgets next year. So it does not look good.
Okay. All right. So just to clarify, the 4%'s out, 3%'s where the budget is sitting right now. When you guys, I know,
You have the Me Too clause.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys would get
yeah,
whatever.
I still would want to adjust the Me Too clause language moving forward.
Uh-huh.
The adjustment, obviously. And then we're not, I know initially it seemed like Wes was okay with the mental health day. Now we're not okay with it?
No. I don't think operationally with what you're already getting with it. I mean, I think that if you want to come in and talk DOR and mental health day, then we have a conversation. But right now with the DOR, I don't see how we can operationally do it, especially when we're down so much staff. That's not even money-wise, it's just how can y'all actually actually operate.
Sure. Well, I know that's, obviously, I know you're saying budget's the problem, but also part of that is the pay and then the stress of the work and having to work. And I think since our last meeting, we've lost a couple more, so now we're down to what, 56, 57 vacancies? So we're just consistently backward sliding, so something's gonna have to happen. But, okay, are we able to take another caucus so I can talk to the membership? That's all right?
Yeah, and then as far as the 1302J, I'll get Kristen to tweak that a little bit, but that one, you know, we're still
Yeah.
gonna clean that up to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Clarify that.
Okay, all right. Go back off the record at.
All right, we're back.
Okay, on the Article 13, the problem is the subsection B, correct? I'm sorry, page 4, subsection B, the mental health day. If we were to just strike through that, and we can TA it, if we on both copies just like strike through that section, is that agreeable to you? As far as to, really what we're wanting to adjust is page 2, subsection J, line 12.
Yeah, can we verbally TA this instead of writing it? Because I want Kristen to tweak this a little bit.
Okay.
And
Is it
then-
okay with you if we don't need to meet again? If we verbally
Yeah.
say, let's
If
tweak it, we can just send it back and
Yeah,
forth?
if we verbally tweak, if we verbally agree, I just need her to tweak this a little bit, to clean
some
it up,
redundancy
because
in
it
there.
looks like there's,
Redundancy.
yeah.
If, as long as we reword it, but the intent is the
basically,
same?
the intent is,
Yes.
if you're under 400, you can roll up
Yes.
to 400. That is,
Yes.
40 up to 200.
40 hours is the most you
400.
can roll, as long as if you're at 380, you can only roll 20, because 400 is the max. But if you're at 200, you can roll all the 40, because you're still below the 400.
And we'll, yeah,
Then-
clarify the
so-
intent, and then there, like I said, we were saying there was a little bit of redundancy here, so I'll have
Sure.
her tweak that and send it over, but we'll
Absolutely.
be fine with the verbal TA on J.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that as well, and we can just send it, email it back and forth. I would like it to not take, like, if we can do it in the next week, that would be ideal, so that we can, and I can work on the
Because I'll have to
language.
scan this to her, so she
Yes.
can see what you guys did, and then.
Absolutely, and then we can do it, because like I said, I would love to TA off on this, obviously, or, you know, to close it out. Yeah, I haven't got that yet. I know you said 3%, I do have a wage article for 21, which is encompassing, of that. If I can hand that over to you, it's the same thing as the previous article for the 3%. It's just 3% instead of 4. Now, my one request that I wanted to clarify, is the 3%. I want to make sure it goes to base rate as well, because we need to start increasing the base hourly rate if we're going to recruit anybody. 3% is not going to be enough to recruit people, but we've got to get them in the door, of course, somewhere. So that would be the goal.
So 3% is usually the way that it is written is for current incumbents. It does not usually go on base rate. I don't disagree with you though. I think that, and I think Chief would probably agree, if we can get Stefan to apply it to base rate,
It makes sense, because we have to get it up. We got to get it up some.
If we do that, then we would have to update the article that has the wage table.
And that's
in
fine.
it. So,
Is
if
that
I
some-
can get him to agree to that, we can also have that table updated and send.
Yeah, we can just email, because the table's just an update with the new, I don't think we need a TA on that. If we update the 3% across the board, including base, the new table's just updating the appendix, and I don't think that's a problem at all.
Yeah, I know, and then now we'll get Kristen to tweak it appropriately. But then again, the table, which is not included in this article, would have
Yes.
to be updated to show.
The new 3%.
Right.
And that's fine. That's something that once it's updated, we can just send it and say, yes, that's fine, and we can apply it with this article, yes.
Also, what I spoke with Nikki briefly about was looking at that bottom wage, the entry wage.
Yes.
I know it causes compression, but if there's something I can do with rollover money, we'll have that conversation to see if they're, in addition to that 3,
Well, yeah.
to try to get it a little bit more competitive, but understanding the complexity of the projected incoming, you know, as far as tax revenue.
Sure.
I'm gonna lean on, obviously, Stefan and the entire crew to give us everything we can get, but
Well, I have some ideas moving forward, obviously, so if that ends up coming, I do have some programs that I've been trying to run in the background. So if we can sit down and be a part of that conversation, obviously it would be because of the wages anyway, but try to find solutions. If I know there's X pot of money, I've got multiple variations that I've been running them already. And my goal is to move forward into next year, especially tweaking this Me Too clause. The goal is for that anyway, moving forward. So, and I agree. We've got to get base wage up, because you could raise it for the existing people, but it's not getting people in the door when they're at $24 an hour and you're below 22. It's just simple math. We talk about the individual. I'm looking for money, and when they can, however many years of experience they have here, and they can immediately leave, and even at the base rate, make $1, $2, whatever an hour more, that's the problem. We have to plug the holes, and we have to get people in the door, of course. Plug the retention, fix retention. So with that being said, can we at least sign off on the 3% today, and then we can work on
I
the...
can't, because this is adding it to the base rate, and I did not discuss that with Stefan. So
Okay.
the only thing I discussed with Stefan was this 4% article,
Yeah.
which, he gave me a no on.
Sure.
So this is, because of the way that the
Yes.
budget is done, the 3% is on current incumbents.
Yeah.
So it's not
Okay.
on the vacant positions. So that is an increase to the budget if we do that. So I have to talk to him.
Is it something that we can take a caucus and you can try again, just so I can know one way or the other today?
He was with the commissioner when I called him, so.
Which commissioner? Would you call the commissioner trying to get out?
He did answer, and he did answer my questions, so,
Okay. Yeah.
I
If it's
don't-
possible, if we can, and then I'll, of course, talk to
And
him.
I'm
about
not
this as
sure
well.
if he will be able to answer this or not, because
Should run the
he'll have to
calculations.
run the numbers.
Yeah.
But if we wanna go ahead and just close out today with I will talk to him today at some point.
Yeah.
And then I can try to get you an answer today,
Yeah.
as far as,
All right. Okay, then if that's the case, if it isn't an answer, then we can probably just
yeah,
send the
and
TA
at
article.
this table, I don't think we disagree, I just
We
can't
just have
speak
to
for
check
budget,
numbers.
so,
Okay.
I think this is a good proposal that incorporates something for the
Yes.
possible recruitment. I'm looking down the table to see if they
Oh, I'm
agree,
sorry,
but,
yeah, no, I have no objections to any of it.
I just.
We just
can't
gotta
speak
double
for
check.
budget.
If it is able, if it's okay with you, if we can do it, we'll just TA, like you can send me the email, I'll sign it and send it back. Is that agreeable to your side, that we can, to
And
close all
Debbie's
these
asking
out?
right now, so she would,
Yeah, because verbally, I think we all agree, we just gotta get the tweaked language, and we can do that through email over the next couple days, if that's okay?
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I think that's all we have, I believe. Do you guys have anything else? I think we can close it out.
Okay. Thank you.